All right, so the Monday, February 17th to 2025 council meeting is now come to order. And the first item on the agenda is a moment of reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, please stand. And to join us in the pledge, or to lead us in the pledge, will be Liam from the Boy Scout from Troop 307. Liam, start on your count.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very good job, Liam. Thank you. All right. So that brings us to opportunity for review, or the council has an opportunity to review council study session minutes and the council meeting minutes of January 6, 2025. Are there any comments or corrections? All right. Those stand approved. And there's no petitions, communications, petitions, or awards tonight. And that brings us to public hearing, or no public hearing, actually. It does bring us to interested citizens' comments, and at this time, we welcome comments from interested citizens. And as you come to the podium, please state your name and your address for the record. We further ask that you speak, or those who speak, to please follow the etiquette of communicating with respect to others. As a courtesy, please stay on topic with your statements while addressing council. A reminder, this is not a time or a forum for arguments. In an effort to give all citizens an opportunity to express their thoughts and concerns, we ask you keep your comments to as brief as possible. Anyone? First one?
Good evening, Don Hutchison, 1058 Bristol. Thank you, Council. First of all, I would like to give you some documents here to address an old issue. Some of you are aware of this.
Do you want to just give it to the city manager and we'll pass it down?
Yeah, I'm on the
Okay.
You did, so I didn't rush up on
I understand that.
As you can see, this is a resolution from December 18th, 2006, with the outcome 06R-33. And the reason that I come to speak on this tonight, quite a few inquiries have been made from the people of the Lane Plat. Naturally, you've probably also noticed for yourself on the east end of Dollar Tree, Kroger area, what's going on to, I guess it's address 810 on Northwoods, and already way to the east, north of the Brown School connection. Quite a few people want to know about the integrity of the resolution, if it was thought that council might think that the outcome was ambiguous or vague in nature, that they said that they would not now or in the future allow that to be extended, and that even if another developer was to meet the requirements of the PUD, the condition that Brown School wouldn't go through. Some people have been told that there's going to be an entrance made to the new service center, with some statements being made that it was for an emergency, and emergency in its definition is urgent, sudden, and serious event or unforeseen change in circumstances that necessitate immediate action to remedy harm or avert imminent danger to life, health, or property. And exigency, is that what they would consider that access to be for?
Yes.
Would that be something that would be constantly monitored so that in an emergency situation, it would be immediately open for that? What other uses would that be for? Now, I'm only asking this because a lot of people that were involved in this back in '06, they're not quite as involved as other people in understanding how this come about, that this is going on back there where they're going about their daily business, seeing all this getting just torn apart back there. What else would this be used for?
Of the property or,
I think our intent is completely honor this. They were gonna put a service drive in the event of emergency. They couldn't exit, say, down through in front of Kroger's. What other uses? Not for general use, not for general traffic, not for convenience of employees. I think, to my mind, we're all committed to what we had committed to before, obviously.
Well, there are those that just want to know that they can be reassured that that is going to be upheld. Down where they're at now, for years, second Saturday, they always have the large item disposal. And there's many times to where the traffic backs up for people waiting to load or offload. Where would that staging area would be for that? Would that be all the way out over into the area in front of Kroger's, or how would they handle that? Some people want to know.
I would think on the facility itself, because it's gonna be big enough to accommodate. I've been there a number of times, and yes, but usually, most I've seen are 10 cars or so, or 10 pickup trucks full of debris. And I think the facility is more than ample to be able to hold that.
So that access wouldn't be something that would be used for that, because that would not be considered an emergency?
It wouldn't be
correct.
an emergency or an exigent circumstance.
What I might suggest is that there's a preliminary plan that if you were to get a hold of that and be able to disseminate that, and if there's some coming to you asking questions, perhaps maybe you could help show them that layout. And again, emergency is emergency, and that can be designated by a city manager or the use of it. The concern was originally when this came to us was that if the bridge went out, I mean, a truck can be on 75 and take out the bridge. There was really no way for any of our service equipment to get to service the city. So we would be deadlocked, basically. So that was emergency is emergency. And it was our understanding to tell staff that's all it would be for. So there would be gates properly set for, no entrance, and I'm sure the policies could be made that it would not be used for convenience. So, and certainly the neighborhood can monitor that. If they see that activity, then we can squelch that.
Others have asked why, and Chad brought this up about they had land that other things were being earmarked for on Webster, whether they want to know why something wasn't presented to be used for that purpose on Webster.
It had been before,
Okay.
and so because this was a donation, and there was no, so was the other, but this was, I think, a better site for what the use was looking for. So I'm sure that others could, the plan, I think, spells that out as well. So the preliminary plan shows, I think, that in the scope of the project.
Well, due to the activity down there, the reason I came here was because they have quite a few questions, and they're a little timid about getting up and interacting with
Right.
your
Right. I appreciate you
Forum.
being the representative, so to speak.
Well, no problem. And they wanted to know, how come there's never been, for example, a need for an emergency such as like on the west end of Alkaline Springs to where you have your new firehouse to help them people get emergency services to them quicker. Other people have asked about the north end of Damien. Those are other places where, you know, they've been that way for quite a few decades, and how it is that it seemed to be just that particular area. And I'm sure they understand with all the activity and seeing it encroach further and further and further and all that nice area being decimated, they feel a little betrayed, like they want reassurance that this is not going to be, you know, rescinded, the resolution.
We'll take that under advisement and certainly pay attention to that. Thank you for
Okay.
bringing it to our attention.
Last one they wanted to know, and I think maybe it got hit on earlier, there was no kind of agreement that the council had that the extra revenue for water resources and sewage and storm wasn't being used for that facility.
Well, it's all part of the budget, but I don't know the specific funds that are being raised by that necessarily goes toward that. There are capital improvement funds that go toward that.
So some of that money is being used for the new facility. We're being told that we're paying more for water, but it could inadvertently be used for that facility. Is that correct?
I don't,
So your question is if water, sewer, and stormwater rates are being
Yeah,
used
the
to,
increased revenue that has everybody, let's say, excited about.
so yes, the rates, the water that's, or the rates that are paid for water, stormwater, and wastewater, some of those rates do go to the Public Works facility because a fair amount of the work that is performed on restoring water main breaks, replacing sewers, and those kinds of things are done by our Public Works facility. So a portion of those rates are being used to help fund the construction of that new Public Works facility.
and as it has been, some of those funds have gone into the capital improvement funds currently. So nothing's changed in that regard.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Robert Shanahan, 7733 South Brown School Road. You probably guessed by now I'm going to talk about the PUD on South Brown School Road. Excuse me. Addison Properties is trying pretty hard to hide this development behind the facade of being, hey, it's just like Foxfire. But it's like they're ashamed to admit what it's really going to look like. No one who drives through any of the Arbor Homes developments in the Miami Valley and then through Foxfire comes away thinking, wow, I was wrong. They are indistinguishable. No, what they're really thinking is, oh, this reminds me of Northern Huber Heights. What's next for Vandalia? A score of monster mega gas station complexes? I don't want that. Vandalia Butler City Schools has injected into the public records the fact that this development will require additional teachers to be hired, additional classrooms to be constructed, and additional traffic issues to overcome. Will these issues be addressed before the new projected tax revenues come online, or after these issues impose significant day-to-day impacts on current and future students? Many of these students are still recovering from significant learning losses due to the COVID-19 disruptions. Are you willing to hold them back even further? Traffic is a problem down there that does not have a solution. In an email dated December 31st, 2024, sent to various city officials by Kurt Althaus, Mr. Althaus requests that a traffic study be done. Irregardless of the outcome of that, a traffic engineer could propose widening South Brown School to 16 lanes, and all that would do is move traffic away from the new development to the highway overpass to the north and to the Little York Road intersection and the train tunnel to the south. Nothing can be done to handle the additional automobiles, garbage trucks, school buses, delivery trucks, public safety vehicles, etc. from this development and the additional homes going up in Foxfire. The feeling on this side of the podium is that the majority of the city staff seem to think that the city is comprised of buildings and businesses that are there solely to generate tax revenue, as exemplified by the city school's attitude of "show me the money." I believe that the city is comprised of its residents, and these residents give it its character and soul. Pay attention to how many people here tonight and at all the other meetings concerning the PUD and the warehouses and other large and small scale developments have been residents of Vandalia for 20, 30, 35 years or more. My family's been here 31. When the buildings and the revenues of the city become the focal point and people start to feel disenfranchised and taken for granted, they will start to leave. And the city will start to lose its character and its soul. And then it will become just an arbitrary collection of buildings and businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Patty Tackett, 7771 Johnson Station Road. I've addressed you previously in the board on previous occasions. For those who may not be aware, I am the owner of Miami Valley Shooting Grounds, property across the railroad tracks and over the hill. I'm here to discuss some concerns in regards to the new development on Brown School Road, as he was discussing. In recent years, Miami Valley Shooting Grounds was involved in litigation with Jamie Spencer. During that case, Mr. Spencer claimed that lead contamination on his property and sought financial compensation for remediation and cleanup of that property, which is now property that they are willing and wanting to develop. Our insurance company settled the case out of court against our wishes. It was never proven, nor could it be, that the lead Mr. Spencer claimed to have found on his property came from Miami Valley Shooting Grounds. Furthermore, court filings documented that the previous owners of the property under discussion today regularly used this property as a shooting range. These filings were obtained because there was also previous owners of Miami Valley Shooting Grounds. My question to the board is, was lead abatement ever conducted on that property? And has the prospective developer, as well as this board, been made aware of the property once contained enough lead to prompt legal action and out-of-court settlement? To be clear, I do not believe, nor has it ever been proven, that the lead originated from the current Miami Valley Shooting Grounds. However, given the legal history, it is important to acknowledge that Mr. Spencer alleged the presence of lead contamination on this property. I want to make this board, I want to make the developers aware of this and make sure that everybody is aware of this litigation, because I'm not sure from what I've been told that they have been. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is actually Gloria Shanahan, and I live at 7733 South Brown School Road. But I am here tonight speaking for Mrs. Tanya Brown, and her address is 4428 Poplar Creek Road, Vandalia. Unfortunately, due to an unforeseen circumstance at the last minute, she was unable to attend, but she has written a letter and asked me to read it on her behalf. So thank you. She says, I come before you today to again share my deepest concerns regarding the proposed development on South Brown School Road. Since council has voted to rezone this property for a planned unit development, the question now becomes, what will this subdivision look like? The developer has submitted a plan of 167 homes, 156 of which are on the smallest lots to date in our city of Vandalia. The density proposed will create a sea of homes 15 feet apart, one stacked practically on top of the other. I have driven through several of the neighborhoods developed and built out by this group, and they are a far cry from any of the existing neighborhoods in Vandalia. As a PUD, it is my understanding that council has the authority to require larger lots to be designed for this development. The developer and builder are proposing to use vinyl siding and a very minimal amount of brick and stone as exterior finish on these properties. This is directly opposed to the statement made on page 56 of the 2020 comprehensive plan. In that plan, it clearly states under low-density residential housing, quote, a range of architectural styles should be promoted with quality natural materials. We all know that vinyl siding is not natural, and there is a time and a place for vinyl siding. However, a new construction development filled with vinyl siding homes is not what most consider a quality architectural style. It is merely a cheaper finish that will not stand the test of time. As I drove through some of the Vandalia newer construction neighborhoods, I saw front facades of brick, stone, and simulated cedar. At minimum, council should require brick or stone front elevation finish with corner wrap and natural material be used for the remaining exterior finish. Traffic is going to be an issue once this developer builds the entire development out. My concern with this is that there is no remedy at all. The intersection at South Brown School Road and Little York will be a definite problem. Traveling north on the narrow, shoulderless South Brown School Road will also be a problem. Once it's done, it's done. There will be nothing that we can do about it. As a realtor in Vandalia for 14 years, I sold properties throughout Montgomery County. Vandalia always held a higher per square foot real estate sale value than any other northern community. There are several reasons for that, one of which was the high standards and desirability of our housing. When we hold our standards high, it is reflected in strong property value and appreciation. I have reached out to several experienced and successful local realtors, and they share all the concerns I've expressed here tonight. They are concerned at what a neighborhood built in this fashion will do to the resale values of the surrounding homes, and especially the Foxfire subdivision. They shared concerns about the effect this type of cluster, minimum quality housing will have on Vandalia real estate values. As I walked around and talked to neighbors recently, I heard so many say, council will not listen to us. They really don't care. They will do what they want to do. I have refused personally to believe this. I believe that you will listen and require these much needed changes to be made to this plan. Larger lots, natural exterior finishes, brick or stone front facades. I was told that by changing this development to a PUD, that you had the ability to make these changes. Please do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
I echo many of her concerns.
Good evening. My name is Beth Langford. I live on South Brown School Road, 410. I basically am in agreement with them, especially the things that she pointed out. It's not a good development. It would not be beneficial for Vandalia. It would not be, as one would say, maybe a good look. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Donald Engel, and I live at 859 Bolton Abbey Lane in the Foxfire subdivision. Vandalia, Ohio, small city, big opportunity. I believe that is the motto of the city. A city with a reputation, expectations, and higher quality standards, with better schools and less crime than some of our surrounding areas such as Dayton and Huber Heights. Foxfire, a beautiful brick housing community with RSF2 zoning located across South Brown School Road from the proposed vinyl plat housing development currently planned with small RSF4 zoning the commission is soon to vote on. Foxfire is an upscale housing community and an asset to the city of Vandalia. The city of Vandalia has numerous housing options, which is good, and are fortunate to have an upscale housing community like Foxfire within the city. Foxfire community includes RSF2 zoning with 1/3 acre lots, minimum 1,500 square foot single-story homes or 2,000 square foot multi-story homes, exclusive of porches, basements, and garages. Wider road widths, minimum 2-car garages, brick exteriors, space between the houses. Vandalia, Ohio, small city, big opportunity. With the limited land across Brown School Road, we have only one chance to construct another high-quality, upscale housing community in this area, which would supplement and complement the Foxfire area of the city. The proposed vinyl plat housing could be constructed anywhere and would be better suited for an area near the Redwood housing development. The first phase of Foxfire is about 30 years old and still looks fantastic. I have lived in my home for 27 years, and my house and the surrounding houses are well maintained and still look new. I'm not sure we will be able to say the same about vinyl sided houses even after 10 years, if those are approved. Vandalia, Ohio, small city, big opportunity. I brought copies of the Foxfire protective covenants and restrictions and the Foxfire quality features, which I will leave with you. And I ask that the commissioners, when they vote on the proposed housing community across from Foxfire, will follow the city's motto of big opportunity, to require any housing development in this area to follow the highly successful quality and features that were included in the first phases of Foxfire. Thank you for your time. Vandalia, Ohio, small city, big opportunity.
That's all right, we'll copy them. Thank you. Thank you for comments. Pass that down to Kurt. Yeah.
What are we doing with it?
Kurt, he can copy. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. I'm Leon Mabel, live at 778 Foxfire Trail in Vandalia. To echo, and I know you're getting sick and tired of hearing it, but I want you to understand that by you making this a PUD, you do have the authority to make some changes. And I'd ask that you consider making the lot sizes, at least as you go down those streets, bigger up front, or you're going to have a lot of congestion, and they're going to look like some of those communities in Huber Heights. That you drive through those neighborhoods, you can barely get through because the cars are all on the street. It's just not a good situation. This is your opportunity to make this development something this city can be proud of and not look like another Huber Heights development. I think it's insulting the way the developer implies that it's going to be just like Foxfire. It's not. And if you think that's the case, you've misunderstood what the real facts are in this case. Also, Brown School, as you know, when you're coming up the hill from Little York, if you come up you're barreling up that hill and there's 5 cars waiting to turn, there's going to be a heck of an accident right there at the top of the hill. That is it being exacerbated by this community. And I know that a traffic study needs to be done, but traffic studies can be done. But you still have the limiting factors of the 70 overpass and the railroad underpass on the Little York side, or on the riprap side. So, there's a lot of concerns, and we are really depending on you to make some changes to force the developer to have some bigger lots, at least up in the front of the development, and do some things to make this reasonable and tenable for all of us. And yes, we are very worried about our property values in Foxfire by having this type of neighborhood across from us. And whatever you can do to protect our values, we'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Tammy Weatherhead, 4555 Poplar Creek Road. I was not going to speak tonight, but the longer I sat here, I started thinking about it, and I thought, I am on the north side boundary of this subdivision, and although I don't agree with the way it is being presented, I know at some point it is going to get developed. For me, for every meeting I've sat through, everything that has been presented, nothing has changed since this council voted down the RSF4. The PUD is identical, except for the lots across Brown School, and they've removed 7 lots, is the way I understood it. Doesn't really work for me. It feels very much like we're just getting the wool pulled over our eyes. For the last 5 years, I lived next to an abandoned house that got boarded up. I don't know, probably had the police out once a week minimum due to squatters, and really affected my property value for 5 years until, I believe, December. The city finally had the building demolished. Yay, now my property value goes back to where it should be, right? Not if this subdivision goes in. You know, I'm not in Foxfire, but I have lived in my home for over 30 years, and it is still maintained. It is natural, cedar-sided, and it hasn't aged at all, not like a vinyl-sided home would be. The other house on my side of Poplar Creek is all brick. These are nice houses. I don't think that we deserve to have a vinyl-sided 167 houses on 35, 45 acres in our neighborhood. I really hope that the council will at least consider that if you approve this, you're approving the same thing you turned down in the fall. The other issue I wanted to just mention, as I sat here, I was thinking about the emergency services. Everybody says it won't affect our emergency services. I find that kind of hard to believe. I had need in November to use our emergency services. And interestingly enough, the night the squad came to pick me up, the Vandalia squad showed up, followed by the Butler Township squad, because our Vandalia squad was short-staffed and they couldn't take me to the hospital. They had to send me with Butler Township. So, you know, we're talking about all this extra housing, all these extra people, but yet with what we have now, City of Vandalia squad could not transport me. I found that kind of interesting to say we have enough, but yet we couldn't. So I don't know. You guys are going to do what you're going to do. I hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Green. I live out on Foxfire. Not 30 years, about half of that. Basically, I just got a statement, and I got a question I want to ask you guys. I was only out there for observer because one of my neighbors who's really concerned about this, because I'm of the opinion that the decision has already been made. So I said, okay, I'll come out here just to see the workings of city government. So here I am. So I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, how would this development benefit Vandalia? Okay? And a lot of these people have been asking you guys to make a change to the contract or whatever you got with the developers for the lot sizes. Do you guys have the power to actually do that? Is it like a, discussion or, you know what I'm saying? Do you guys actually have the power to actually make the changes? And my statement is I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, downtown Charleston. Grew up there my whole life. And I've seen Charleston turn from, Charleston, who everybody loves. You read the vacation, come to Charleston. And development, it's on I-26 from Charleston almost all the way to like Georgetown and Orangeburg, like 60 miles. And development all up from Charleston, 60 miles. You got all these houses. And I-26 from about 10 o'clock to maybe 8 is a parking lot. Because the city of Charleston is built on a peninsula. It wasn't meant to be developed like that. And the way these people are talking, like I say, I've only been there like around 15 years living out there. And I'm pretty sure their concerns are valid. So my main thing is the development has already been approved as far as I can see. That's what I've been told. It hasn't?
No.
Oh, okay. That's great. So, do you guys actually have the power to make any changes that these guys are asking?
Yes.
Yes, we have the power.
Okay,
Yes.
so all we need now, because like I told my wife, I said, hey, these people are representing all these people. You are their voices. So I'm like, I know they're going to do what the people want. So, if you guys have the ability to do it, we don't think it's actually too much if you already developed. You know, we're not trying to stop people from moving and growing. All we're saying is listen to the concerns of the people who actually put you guys up there. That's it.
Thank you. All right, ma'am, in the back, you had.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kimberly Bish, and I live at 792 Foxfire. I'd like to start off by thanking you for giving us all the opportunity to share our thoughts on the new development on South Brown School. And I know that some of what I have to say is redundant, but I'm not going to apologize because it's important to all of us. And if you hear it from a different person's perspective, I'd like to be able to share that. I'd like to first start off saying that the majority of us do realize that eventually that this area is going to be developed, and we accept that. We hope, though, that when developing this area, that custom home builders would have been brought in to mirror the Foxfire neighborhood, to keep the same appearance, lot sizes, mostly brick homes with beautiful curb appeal that are well-maintained, a very lovely and welcoming neighborhood that stands out in our Vandalia community. We are in support of growing our city, but perhaps first we should focus on giving it that hometown charm like you see and feel when you're walking through other small communities such as Troy, Tip City, Urbana, just to name a few. This would invite people to come to our town and help to increase our growth and our revenue. Add some local non-chain restaurants, create venues to draw people into our community. Perhaps use this opportunity instead to protect our natural green space and our wetlands. Take advantage of what is already there and allow an open space for our groundwater to recharge itself. Build up a nice nature preserve such as Charleston Falls, Taylorsville Park, or Garbury Road Sanctuary. When considering your decision to move forward or not, I would like to ask that you keep these things in mind. You've heard it, and I'm going to say it again, traffic volume. Has a traffic study been done yet? I think that that should be done before starting the project to see if it can handle the additional volume. We are at a minimum looking at the additional traffic and cars, possibly of 300 additional cars between Addison properties and the additional Foxfire properties. And that's a low estimate, considering that most families are going to have 2 cars, and if you have children, they're going to have additional cars for their children. With entrances directly across from Foxfire and Deerhurst, cars will be needing to turn possibly at the same time, either in the same or opposite directions across an already busy roadway. Cars coming north up the Little York Road Hill, making a left turn into the Foxfire on Deerhurst, while those leaving the Riverdale subdivision trying to make a left-hand turn onto Brown School towards Little York seem like an accident waiting to happen, especially during those high-volume traffic hours. Cars coming up the hill are going to have to make a sudden stop and stop on a dime as they crest the top of that hill. Maybe we need to think about putting signs up signaling dangerous intersection, because I feel that that's what's going to happen. There is conversation about widening the roadway as it is on Foxfire's side, but if you drive it and you want to make a turn into the Foxfire subdivision, you will see it really isn't that impactful. A car still has to swerve around you while you turn into the Foxfire subdivision. It's not the size of a 4-lane roadway. On average, I leave my house at 8:15 in the morning and I head into Vandalia for work. Between school buses and cars, I normally pass between 20 to 25 vehicles heading south towards Little York. We will be adding a lot more volume of cars to the roadway, especially impacting the hill at Little York. The majority of Brown School also is a no passing zone. It's not a big deal, but I've had to wait in line for people just to get around a garbage truck or a service truck, the mailman. Also, I've had to wait in line if there's been an accident or if there is traffic on the interstate, that road is blocked. There's real no way to reroute traffic other than Palomino or Bonnie Bray in the event of an accident. I read that the proposed speed limit for Brown School is going to be reduced to 35 miles per hour. And how is that going to be enforced, I'd like to ask. Already, when I'm obeying the speed limit of 40 miles per hour, it seems like I have someone behind me attached to my bumper, pushing me to go faster, and I always have to make sure that I tap my brakes way ahead before I turn into that Foxfire subdivision so as I don't get rear-ended. A review of the previous comprehensive plan showed that South Brown School and Little York Road were listed as areas of the highest traffic accidents in the city of Vandalia. Also, potential for backup traffic trying to get through the railroad tunnel. You need to think about that as well. Is the city prepared to increase our law enforcement as well as staffing for fire and rescue? Will we be ready for the police to citizens officer ratio to our residents? I believe that there is a ratio that was put in the comprehensive plan. Has that changed, or will that be addressed? I understand the school district is on board with this development for the purpose of increasing the tax base for our city and hoping to lower our taxes. I think we can all safely say that when it comes to tax history, they don't normally go down unless you move somewhere else or you die. I have spoken to several teachers, and there is a concern over being able to staff the additional students, as well as classroom overflow, as some students are already taking classes outside of the building in trailers. Why don't we work together to maintain the quality of the school systems and coordinate land use policies and future land expansions before we bring in these additional students? The materials and the lot dimensions for the homes in the Riverdale subdivision should be in comparison to the Foxfire subdivision. Homes only allowing 7 feet 5 inches, 90 inches total on each side for a total distance between them of 15 foot is the smallest lots, I believe, in our city. I got my tape measure out last night. My couch is 86 inches long. It would fit between those. The standard couch length is 70 to 96 inches long. Create that as a visual, if you would. Someone's side lot could be smaller than a standard couch. A king-size bed frame is 90 inches. I'm sorry, yes, 90 inches. 90 inches is equivalent to 1.5 bowling lanes. A surfboard at minimum is 90 inches. Again, 7 feet 5 inches is 90 inches. It is about 7 foot 5 inches to the rim of a standard basketball hoop. Shaquille O'Neal, 7 feet 1 inches. He would fit in the homeowner's side lot with 4 inches to spare. I understand that this isn't always of importance to the home buyer, as the developer mentioned, that people come for different reasons and different purposes of purchasing a home. But think of it visually for our city and the appearance of that neighborhood compared to Foxfire and other neighborhoods in our city. Also, think about this. What if there's a fire? There's not a lot of space to keep it from spreading to another home, especially homes that are built with vinyl siding. Being so close to the railroad track, do we have an evacuation plan in place in the event there's a situation similar to Richmond, Indiana's train derailment? What happens if after the second or third stage something goes wrong with the development and it has to stop, such as the market drops, people aren't buying the homes, a problem with land development, the developer pulls out? Is there a backup plan in place, or will we be like other communities where developments are left incomplete and it's an eyesore? In a previous meeting that I attended, the developer mentioned that they chose Vandalia, and that stuck strong with me, as if Vandalia was a part of a contest and we were the lucky winner. Please keep in mind that all of us, every one of us out here within this community, we chose Vandalia. Maybe we chose it as our first home. Maybe we chose it as our forever home. Maybe because we love the community. Maybe because there's too much traffic where we previously lived. It has this small hometown feel, the charm that we want. Being in city limits, but still beautiful open spaces, and we're not overcrowded. We all have reasons why we chose Vandalia. I ask, when making your final decision, I would like to ask each and every one of you to consider everything that our community has brought to your attention through our attendance at these meetings, as well as individual letters and emails that have been sent. How would you feel if this were happening in your development and your property values were $350 or higher, and this was going to make a change to that? We all want a long-lasting positive impact on our community that differentiates us from our neighboring communities. And once this development is complete, it's done, it's a done deal. We cannot go back and undo it. So please consider that, council members, when you choose your final vote. Thank you for their time this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Alex Gunner-Gray, 751 Foxfire. I just have some questions and some things to share with you guys. One is, at the next council meeting, I think one of the things is you guys are going through and heard the proposals in the study sessions. And the last meeting, it was a vote to move it to another reading. But other than Mrs. Dugan communicating some feedback at the last meeting, council meeting, there's been no other feedback from any council members to the community. We, the citizens of Vandalia, we are the stakeholders of the city. We are your stakeholders. The developer is not a stakeholder. In all reality, there's three people to profit from this development. One is Mr. Spencer, the property owner. The other one is Addison Properties, based out of Beechwood, Ohio, which is Cleveland. And then you have Arbor Homes, which their closest office is Westchester. Other than for Mr. Fisher, none of them are stakeholders in our community. So I will hope that you will keep that in mind. The next question is, I personally, and I think everybody else in here too, would like to see how you find this development to be in alignment with the 2020 comprehensive plan. And also, on a property like this, what do you envision for a piece of property like this that's to be completely rezoned as it is? I think the developer has communicated that he is willing to work with you guys, work with the city to make this happen. So, yes, do we want a Foxfire 2.0? Yes. That's that going to happen? No, because we're still trying to finish out Foxfire as it is. However, you guys have the ability to dictate the lot sizes, the using higher end building products and natural building products, as we've talked, making them pay for any traffic flows, road improvements, things that need to be done. But I think before you guys can vote, you need to have that traffic study back before you guys can make a vote. If you guys get the traffic study back and it says this development can only take 100 homes, then that needs to be put into the your proposal, your counter proposal back to them. So I think there's a lot of things that need to happen before you guys can vote on this. So, I mean, those are the key points I have there. I know the next meeting is on the 4th of March, and that's when you guys will have more discussion on it. I would hope at that time you guys can share your feedback, give them your counter proposals back, and wait for them to come back before you make a vote and table any votes at that time. So those are my comments today. I know they're similar to what they're saying, but there's also some additional thoughts I've come up with as well. So thank you.
Thank you. And just for a point of clarity, the next meeting is March 3rd. So just didn't want you to miss it. I'll be there. Okay. Regardless of what. All right.
Ed Burke, 2337 Upper Trent Way. You've heard it all for the most part. The one thing that really sticks out to me, the layout with the proposed plat, the cul-de-sacs. Imagine 3 box trucks trying to go in and out of a cul-de-sac that long. How would you like to be at the end of that cul-de-sac and there's box trucks staged waiting for the other one to get out of its way? I think the layout needs to be really redone to where it's more of a circular, or the cul-de-sacs aren't going to work. Mailbox clusters is another one. Do we have that in the city?
For the cluster, it depends on the development.
We currently have them though.
I'm not sure that we do. Or apartment complexes, they do, obviously.
Okay. I would suggest doing a phased approach. Finish Foxfire, finish that development, and then move forward. Allow the schools to absorb some of these kids in slow growth. Don't do 2 developments at the same time. Something to consider. HOA, does the city have that? Any development?
There's many of them that have HOAs, correct?
Okay. So when they bail, who maintains the wetlands? If the HOA, whoever administrates that, if they bail, who maintains the wetlands?
That's hypothetical, and I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing it to
Things to
attention.
consider. That's all I have. Oh, one last, short-term rentals. Moving forward, can the city put some language in to limit short-term rentals? Or I've seen other communities where they charge the short-term rentals tax similar to a hotel. I don't know if you're thinking about that. Something to
Okay,
consider.
we can certainly look into that. Thank you.
I had one other comment. I don't know if you guys had seen in the Dayton Daily News in the last week, but the city of Clayton had initially denied a 500 home housing development for Arbor Homes with a different developer. And then last week they went back and they approved that 500 home development. So my question would be is how would that possibly, with 500 homes going in there, how would that affect sales for this development? Is there enough capacity in the North Dayton area to accommodate 500 plus homes to be built in the next 3 to 5 years?
Okay, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Can I also add one more thing? Will I get a response back in regards to if there has been lead testing done on that property?
We can have the city manager get in contact with you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you everyone for your comments.
Your Honor,
Oh, yes.
if we can put the city attorney on the spot for a minute. Sorry. Can you just, for the sake of everyone that's here, so that everyone understands the process moving forward, as far as at our next meeting, council will consider the second reading of both the PUD and the preliminary plan. And if, depending on the outcome of that, what then is the process for the developer? You know, for example, if a traffic study is requested and the developer agrees to it, since it's not part of the normal procedure that we have, and then if the preliminary plan is approved, then what does that have to look like for us before it comes back for a final approval? So can you just, for the sake of everybody, so they understand what still has to happen before a development would actually occur there, if council approves it?
Okay.
If I made that clear enough.
Well, one thing is that there's the talk about, council can make changes. And with the PUD, yes, you have the ability to request certain things. But we have criteria in our code that governs what we can and cannot require. And if somebody meets all of those and we say, well, yeah, but we want more, then that doesn't tend to fare well for the city from a legal perspective. But that aside, that the next meeting is the second reading, and if council wanted to say, we're not going to move forward until there's a traffic study done, we don't necessarily have the authority to do that in our code. But that's not to say it can't be done, in which case this would most likely be tabled again for another second reading. It could be approved at the second reading, subject to the results of a traffic study, which means they would then have to invest in the traffic study, come back with it, and the next step in the process, if we approve at the next meeting, what we would be approving is a zoning change to a PUD, and we would approve generally the plan, the layout, if you will, of that development. Then the traffic study comes in and it says it can only hold 100 houses, I think was somebody's example. Well, then the final development plan would have to be adjusted accordingly. But if it comes back and says, well, it can hold 1,000 houses, it doesn't mean they're going to now be able to get more houses. The plan would be just what it is. But their next step is to get a final development plan, which council would need to approve as long as it's consistent with the general plan. If it's something way off, then no. You can say no. But generally, once you approve the general plan, that is the green light to go ahead and do all the types of things that cost a lot of money, which is the actual engineering, which may result in fewer lots. It will not result in more lots coming in, but could result in fewer lots. Traffic type of flows, maybe with the engineering won't work. Those will have to be adjusted, things like that. Did that answer your question?
Well, yeah, not so much my question. I just want to make sure that everyone was clear that part of the process is some of the procedures, or all the procedures, are outlined in our planning code, and which are passed by council and are on the book. So there are certain things that we have to follow the procedure to not put the city in a legal jeopardy issue and put us at a risk of litigation. So there is a process that we are following. Someone made a comment earlier about council not approving the previous plan. That never made it to a vote on council. So council has not taken any action on the prior rezoning. The applicant pulled their petition and resubmitted the PUD. Planning Commission recommended it for denial, but that has never come to council for a vote. So that was pulled from our agenda prior to council entertaining that. So there are procedural steps. It takes time sometimes. It's not the quickest procedure. And I just wanted Mr. McDonald to go through that so that everyone understood some of the steps that still have to take place. So thank you.
And procedurally, it will be in the second reading of public hearing, so there would be opportunity to have people come and speak to that. Obviously, we've heard comments tonight that could be repeated, but it would still be an open conversation.
That is correct, and that is quite often the reason council does not express their views in the earlier stages, because oftentimes it is not until the public hearing, that second reading, where you start hearing things, and that's when the decision is made. And council doesn't want to be accused of, oh, you made your decision 3 weeks ago before you had all the information. Now, granted this, we've had a lot of information coming in. But it is not unusual for council not to say exactly what they're thinking or what they're voting at an early stage. So that's not necessarily anything unusual. And as the law director, I actually prefer that because it helps me in the long run if things go south eventually.
And that's one of the reasons why I ask you to comment on that, because some in the audience feel that we may have already come to a decision. Certainly, we may have our own opinions, but decision is not made until that time. There's still times where we sit here and we have an idea or an opinion, each one of us, that goes one way. We hear testimony, and then we go the other direction. Then we hear more testimony and maybe go back another direction. So I would say that sitting here, hearing all that information, seeing all the emails and that type of thing, we absorb that information. So I don't want people in the audience to think that we've already made up a decision. And just kind of go from there. I think it's true that this is valuable information that can help maybe sway an opinion that we have to ourselves. But certainly I don't see that. So I appreciate you saying that as well, because the comment was made that we haven't heard our opinions, and that's the reason why. So, all right, anything from any other council members? Yes, sir.
Just being in the professional engineering side of things over the years, study can show, and oftentimes, unfortunately, could show anything the person wants it to show.
Yes.
So those who are paying for the study will probably get a result that favors them. It would be interesting if they were to do a study and the city would do a study, and that's a lot of money. But I would think that there's a good possibility they will be at odds with each other on a traffic study. The other thing I have a concern about, and I'm just bringing this up, is the Elsa's Sheets gas station in Centerville, where the developer, you have the landowner who wants to sell the property, you have the developer that's put a lot of money into trying to get the plan approved, and you have the city that wants to keep it out. I'm concerned that we may be in a situation like that in Vandalia as well, in a lawsuit, if and when the development doesn't happen to their liking. And I hate that, but I'm concerned about that.
Sure. Can you repeat your name and address again, please, for the record?
Donald Engel, 859 Bolton Abbey Lane, Foxfire.
Yes, thank you. All right. One more. Yeah. If you will, please, so we can hear you and again, just
Beth Langford, South Brown School Road. So you mentioned that there are procedures legality-wise, right, that you have to look at that in order to, what you can and cannot do change-wise on this, correct?
well,
So-
yes, procedurally.
Yeah, procedurals. Do you have that on the website where we can look at what you can and cannot do?
Mr. McDonald, do you want to address that?
Yes, it's in the Vandalia zoning code, and it
Is
would,
it easy to find?
that depends who you ask. I'm pretty sure if you go to their Vandalia and you go to departments or something like that, I'm pretty sure there's a planning and zoning one, and then you click on that, and
Right.
eventually it will say Vandalia zoning code. And once you get in there, good luck. No, but that's there is a criteria for planned unit developments for PUD, and it is what, you know, we are to look at. Does it meet, or is it consistent with the plans of the city, the comprehensive plan, things like that? And,
Okay.
you know, they have these various provisions in there.
So-
And that's
so-
what we are governed by.
I'm not really cognizant of what does PUD stand for?
I'm sorry. That
Planning
is,
Ultimate
Planned
Development?
unit development.
Planning
Planned unit development.
Unit Development. Okay, great,
And-
thank
and-
you.
yeah.
Thanks.
As Mr. McDonald said in the very beginning of that, does give the scope of the planning code, so that gives you an idea of perhaps maybe some of the procedures, and then you can also do a search. So if you did a search on PUD, that would take you probably to that section, and that would also, at the very beginning of that section, give you some of those procedurals. All right? I believe that may be it. All right, anything else from council? All right, we'll move on. And feel free to stay for other legislative purposes, or if you feel you need to go on, you're welcome to leave at this time. Yeah.
I just got a quick question. Ain't got nothing to do with the development. You know where you take your rubbish and trees and limbs and stuff like that? Is that place on Dogleg Road still open for it?
I believe so. Mr. Olhouse?
Yes.
It is? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's nice seeing city government at work.
Thank you for coming and participating in city government.
Oh, does he? Sounds like a nice guy.
Yeah, I did.
I was thinking about getting up.
Can we leave?
All right. All right, here we go. Continuing on, we have city manager's report, informational items, Mr. Olhouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just one information item for this evening. It's our Employee Service Awards, which is an annual event. It's going to be held on Friday, February 28th, 2025 at 11:30 a.m. at the Cassel Hills Clubhouse restaurant. Council members are invited to attend. Employees will be celebrating a service milestone in 2024, will receive an invitation in the mail. Attendance is limited to the council, department heads, supervisors, and the employee being recognized and one guest. This year, we are celebrating employees who have a combined years of service of 150 years.
That's a lot of years. And that is awesome to be there and see that recognition for all the deserving employees. And I believe, Angela, do you have everyone confirmation of whether they're going to make that or not? Okay, you're welcome. Just want to put that plug in there for you. Okay, there are no action items, and that brings us to old business, which there is no old business this evening, which brings us to the resolutions. And we'll start with Resolution 25R13. Mr. McDonald, title only, please.
A resolution approving the proposed 2024 bylaws of the First Suburbs Consortium of Dayton, Ohio Council of Governments.
Mr. Hallhouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. On October 23rd, 2024, the First Suburbs Consortium of Dayton, Ohio Council of Governments Governing Board unanimously approved several changes to the COGS bylaws. This is the first bylaws change since 2017. In accordance with Section 13 of the 2017 bylaws, each member community must also approve the new bylaws by a resolution before they can become effective. In your council packet, you will find the revised bylaws provided by Jack Jensen, the Executive Director.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor, move that we approve Resolution 25R13 as presented.
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Councilmember Lewis and seconded by Councilmember Dugan. And any comments, concerns from council on this matter? Okay, I know that we're all waiting with bated breath on the revised bylaws of this, right? All right, roll call, please.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Follak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Avalotis Weaver?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blakesley?
And I vote yes, and the motion carries 6-0. All right, that brings us to the next resolution, 25, almost made a mistake again, 25R14.
I'm sorry. A resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase the property located at 10 West National Road and designating the site as an area for revitalization.
All right, Mr. Althouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. The City of Vandalia is finalizing a contract to purchase real estate at 10 West National Road for $2,150,000 for the redevelopment purposes as part of the Vandalia City Center Overlay Plan. The city's intent is to seek a desirable use for this property that aligns with the VCCO and the 2020 Comprehensive Plan that meets the desire of our community and supports quality economic development. Funds for this purchase will come from the Job Creation and Revitalization Fund, which is predominantly funded through building permit and land development fees.
All right, thank you. Comments from council? All right, well, do I have a motion first?
Your Honor, I'll move to approve Resolution 25R14 as presented.
Second.
All right, motion by Councilman Follak and second by Councilmember Lewis. And any comments? Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Councilmember Follak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Avalotis Weaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blakesley?
And I vote yes, and the motion passes 6-0. Brings us to ordinances in the first reading. There are none tonight, and ordinances in the second reading. There are no ordinances in the second reading. However, we do have an emergency ordinance, and that is ordinance 2503. Mr. McDonald.
An ordinance to revise appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Vandalia, Montgomery County, Ohio, during the calendar year ending December 31, 2025, and amending Ordinance 2424 and declaring an emergency.
All right, because this is Mr. Oldhouse, you want to explain any further?
This ordinance is a $2 million increase appropriations to account for expenses related to the purchase of real estate located at 10 West National Road for $2,150,000 for redevelopment purposes as part of the Vandalia City Center Overlay Plan.
All right, and because this is an emergency ordinance, I will open a public hearing for ordinance 2503. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address this legislation to council, please come to the podium and state your name and address. It looks like most of everyone already left to make any concerns or comments. So seeing none, then do I have a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 25-03 as an emergency.
Second.
All right. Motion by Councilmember Forrest and second by Councilmember Follick. And do we have any comments from council? All right. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Follak?
Yes.
Councilmember Fairst?
Yes.
Councilmember Avalotis Weaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Blakesley?
And I vote yes, and the motion passes 6-0. We have no reports from boards and commissions tonight, and that brings us to the bill listing of $4,241,234.77 for January 2025. And January expenses over $25,000, and January purchasing credit card detail in the amount of $20,044.28. Any questions or comments there? Okay. Went pretty quick. That brings us to council comments, and we'll start tonight. Mr. McDonald, as usual.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
All right. All right, Mr. Allhouse.
The only thing I would add is echo some comments made earlier. I just want to thank Mr. Schwedeman for all the time and hours of work he put into the utility rate study. I personally witnessed the amount of effort and work he did, and so I just want to comment and compliment him on the fine presentation. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. We'll go over here to the left. Councilmember Dugan.
Nothing, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Lewis. Thinking about it.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. Councilmember Follick.
Just real quick, continued appreciation to our Public Works and Parks and Rec staff for all their efforts with snow removal since we got hit again this weekend and the ongoing water main breaks. So thank you to those staffs that are putting in the extra work this winter.
All right, very good. Councilmember Forrest.
A thank you again to Mr. Schwedeman. That was a lot of information, and it's extremely helpful, and really appreciate all the effort into that. And I'm sure the staff that participated in that. Other than that, I was gone for the last week or so, and I'm going to come home and I can see the work that had to have gone into keeping the roads clean again, and an extra dip in a road or two where they've been working, and it's just, you know, that's a lot of effort for our staff, and it's really appreciated, so thank you. That's it, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Avalotis Weaver.
I will make a motion to excuse Mayor Richard Herbst from all meetings tonight.
So moved.
All right. I have a motion by Councilmember Avalotis Weaver and a second by Councilmember Forrest. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None? I vote yes, and it passes 6-0. He is now excused.
I'd also like to thank, is that you that organizes the Boy Scouts coming?
I have, yes.
Yeah, thank you. I love having them. My son was a Boy Scout.
Ah.
So thank you to Liam for having the Boy Scouts come, and thank you to Vice Mayor Blakesley to organize that. I love seeing them come and be a participant in that. I also wanted to say that I do hear the residents and their concerns about the Helke Park not having a toddler playground now. It was imperative that that structure come down. It was a safety concern, and that is more important than anything else, is that a child does not get hurt. So I understand when people see their favorite structure come down, and that's upsetting to them. But we do have to work in stages, and as you see, we voted tonight on a play structure at the rec center for that age group, and things are coming. I did talk to the rec center director, Clark, and we have some things in store and some things to look at to try and replace that. So don't feel that your words are falling on deaf ears. We're listening, and that was part of a big concern when you hear that those structures are over 20 years old, or almost 20 years old. But when they have to come down, it is for good reason. So I do hope that you understand that. Thank you to all the residents that came out and spoke. It was almost an hour of testimony tonight to make sure that your thoughts were spoken and heard, and we do listen. We are open to hearing them. And so I appreciate that you took your time on this cold night and came out and spoke on something that was very important to you. Thank you to Mr. Schwederman. This water rate issue is just driving me nuts. So I appreciate that, that you are working so diligently, that we are trying to find something that works for everyone. And it is important that we do provide safe and clean drinking water and sewage facilities and things for our residents. And I just appreciate everybody's time tonight, and happy President's Day.
Very good. Okay, and thank you for the Boy Scout reference. I'm sorry.
I forgot to add one thing. That presentation will be posted on our website this week. So if anyone was not able to attend the meeting this evening, they will be able to look at that, and we're also going to download that video presentation so they can actually hear the explanations that go along with it.
So that'll be actually separated from the council meeting? Okay, very good. I do remember, I think, discussing that before. Yes, thank you. Thank you for adding that to it. Boy Scouts, I thought, does add a little extra government to it. Plus, they needed that for their badge as well, so it was kind of two-serving there. And then also, Mr. Sweetman, I gave compliments earlier, and kudos. The work, I saw the stack of paper that you had is what impressed me, because when I asked a question before you could answer it, you were already back into the data. And I know how that goes. I know how important that is to have that data to put into the presentations, and so that it gives us a clear and concise way to make decisions. This is not an easy one to make. So again, appreciate all the staff as well, from finance to engineering and everyone that was involved with that, because they're just as responsible for helping compile that. That's all I have tonight for the meeting. We'll exit this meeting